Everything is fine here on Detention Block AA23, a Star Wars podcast. I'm Mike, joined by Dustin, here to talk Star Wars with all you fans out there. Um, hey, final episode of Skeleton Crew, so we will talk about that. But first,
Let me give you that thumbnail.
your head is like halfway up. Got to push the screen down a little. There you go. Speaking of thumbnail, though, I'll get the business elements out of the way really quick. So if you're listening to us right now, hit that subscribe button. We greatly appreciate it. It really does help us get our name out there amongst all the other YouTube channels
We're
and
growing, man.
podcasts. We're growing indeed. So we
How many
appreciate all the
subscribers we
help.
got? 10,000 now?
10,003. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Minus the
Um,
10,000.
minus the 10,000. But yeah, hit that subscribe button, download, like, rate, review, all of it. Share with your friends, share with your neighbors. We greatly appreciate it. We do this for fun, and we love talking with all the people that are following us. So looking forward to expanding that. And our chat is up and running. So also drop us a line in the chat while we're talking. Insert your opinions, your questions, your thoughts. Just like
notes,
Dustin's
motherfuckers.
notes. Dustin's got notes this time.
Yeah.
So bring us the notes that you have, and we would
Taking
love
the
to
shit seriously.
talk through it. And that's half the fun of what we do. But let's get going. I mean, I'll put the spoiler tag right now. So we just watched episode 8, The Real Good Guys of the Skeleton Crew. Season 1, probably only one season, maybe another season. We don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But if you haven't watched it yet, put us on pause, go watch the episode, and then come back and give us a listen. So, initial thoughts, Dustin. We'll kind of start there. How are you feeling after that?
I thought the action was really good. Again, I got a lot. I got like 4 or 5. I mean, this is on a small like notepad, but I got good chunk of notes. First thing I'll say, starts at 122, roughly, right into the. I think it was like
Yep.
39 minutes if you look at like the time bar.
Yep.
And then it ends at 34 minutes almost exactly. So I mean, we're talking about 30 some odd minutes of content. It's not long enough. Okay.
Yeah.
Like right off the hop. Like there are scenes that happen within the show that I want more of. And you just can't get that because the show is just so tightly packed.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, I don't want to get too far into it. So we can we can go through points by points. But like there are
Yep.
just so many scenes where I'm like, why can we not flesh that out better?
Yeah. I definitely agree. Like, I think, and there's still questions I kind of have coming out of that, which I think maybe leaves it open. If they want to do a second season, they can. But
I thought they ended it like how they were going to end it. I don't think there is a second season. Or
I don't think
if
there
they,
will be, but there are open questions at the end, to be honest, which is fine. You don't have to answer everything. I don't say that's like against the show, but like there are certain things I would like to find out that we don't. If you have too many, things left unanswered, then it's problematic. But if you have a couple, that's totally fine. Some of them aren't necessarily, some of them are unnecessary, but I think they kind of sped up the end because the end kind of ended abruptly. Would you agree?
again, I mean, it's just the shortness of the episode. They get, 34 minutes done, right? And,
Yeah.
6 minutes of credits. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, it's so disingenuous, like, why? Why do they have to show even that? Like,
Which is
it's,
unfortunate because we're enjoying this show, or we enjoyed this show. We actually want more of it. Like,
well, I thought the ending was dissatisfying.
okay, you thought it was just dissatisfying,
It just ended so abruptly, like you mentioned, and
but you
we got
enjoyed the
almost.
action. You enjoyed the action of it.
Oh yeah, there were some good set pieces, good action pieces for a kid show, right? There's a lot
Yep,
of plot armor that takes place,
and that's understood.
which you can yes, you can understand because it's kids, right? Like they're none of the kids are gonna die. They're not really in danger, but like there's almost zero that you learn about lore within the Star Wars universe. Like
From
it's
this
it's
show.
almost non-existent. And I mean, I'm an adult, right? So like I understand it's a kids show. I understand that.
Yep.
But why can't we have some lore dumps? Aside from that, oh yeah, there's like a mint that's producing money and it's this planet that's hidden and all that stuff. But other than that, I mean, like, okay, what do you get, right? And I don't want to get too much into it because I'm sure we'll get
Because
into discussions.
I mean,
But
to your point, like a kids show can also be a show for adults. A kids show is just like tamed down a little bit. A
well,
kids
Clone
show
Wars,
can't.
right? I mean, we
Yeah.
talk about that quite
Yep.
often. I mean, there's some
So
really dark moments, and there are some dark moments
in the show
in the last two episodes.
and in the very
I
beginning, the first episode too.
True, and that one scene where they're going to send these kids out to, like, go to war for them,
Yeah.
probably knowing that they're going to get massacred. I mean, it reminds me of like if you ever seen the movie Enemy at the Gates,
Oh yeah.
where
Yep.
they just send these people to get, I mean, they're cannon fodder.
One
That's
the
literally all they were.
group two people together. One person has the gun, one person has the ammo, and wish the best of luck.
Yeah. And then anyone who like didn't literally just go run into death got killed by their superiors.
Yep.
So, and it was kind of like that in that episode because the guys, they're like, you know, pushing them with guns. You don't really have a choice. But anyway,
Yeah.
there's some dark moments in the show, but I thought Clone Wars got even darker. Some of the,
Yeah.
yeah. So to answer your question, I enjoyed the season as a whole. I was just a little disappointed with the ending in
And
this episode.
that's fair. Because like I said, I do agree. I think it ended a bit abruptly. I definitely enjoyed the last episode. The other thing I enjoyed holistically was the acting, and I feel like the acting from the kids got better as the season went on. At the same time, I feel like the acting of the parents kind of went the other direction as the episode went on, or as this went on. Of course, Jude Law did great. Many of the pirates did great, and some of the main supporting actors and actresses. But the parents kind of took me out of it a little bit at the end. But again, it's a kids show, so I'll give it a little bit of leeway there. But the kids did phenomenal in the acting, in my opinion. So the episode starts out, rewinding back, the end of the last episode, it kind of cuts out with Jude Law igniting the lightsaber, and we pick it up right away, right at the same spot. And what I initially thought was going to be some kind of like fight with the droids turned out to be like he's actually playing the nice guy here. He's trying to sweet up with the parents and be like, your kids, they did some, they got into trouble. They're doing something that they shouldn't be doing, and they're really jeopardizing the safety of everyone. We're going to need to go see the supervisor. And he's like, I'm going to bring Fern. And then Fern's mom's like, well, I want to join along. And he's like, sure, well, I'll be happy to take care of both of you, which is kind of like, are you going to knock him? Are you going to kill him? Or are you going to do something else?
So
And
that I
then,
wrote down, Jod's a dick.
well, and I think we were starting to understand that too as the season was going on. And then they send the kids to be put in, well, kind of house arrest, guarded by droids, and he wants everyone out of the location. So
there's a little joke in the scene with Wim and his dad
yeah,
where he says, "Oh man, nothing like a home cooked meal," and it's basically like a TV dinner that they heat it up.
I
Did
didn't
you see
catch
that?
that. No, I didn't catch
Yeah,
that.
so I wrote that down because it made me laugh. He's like, "Oh yeah, well, nothing like a home cooked meal. It's like a TV dinner. He just like warmed up in a tray."
Yeah,
So not what
well,
we would consider a homemade meal on
right.
the terrestrial Earth.
But maybe it is for them. Maybe
Some
anything
families
could.
might, those
That's
TV
true.
families.
Get those Salisbury steak from a microwave type of a thing. Do you remember those as a kid? Did you
Yeah,
ever?
I do. I remember those.
You have your Salisbury steak, your little macaroni and cheese. You'll have some kind of dessert and maybe like applesauce. I don't know.
Well, I have to say my family was a little fancier. We had Schwans. We had a lot of
Oh
Schwan stuff. Oh
wow.
my God, dude, those
Did they like
mint
deliver
ice
those day
cream
by day?
sandwich
Jeez.
bars. Dude, those mint ice cream sandwich bars. My mom would order a box of them. They would be gone the same day, and she would be so pissed. She's like, "Those things are expensive. How did you eat them all in one day?" And we're like, "Because I'm a teenager. I ate 5 of them like in one sitting."
Isn't Schwann's one of the companies that did like milkman delivery?
Well, so they were like frozen foods that they would deliver like once a week or something. I think that's how my mom had it. And it was, like they weren't like some of them were full meals, but they were just kind of nice, like add additions to your freezer that you could throw in real quick.
Yeah. Okay. Um, Speaking of dinner, going back to that scene. So here we kind of have Wim's dad trying to talk to Wim about, okay, we need to get you back plugged in, find a way to get you to take the assessment, and get your life back on track, essentially. And Wim is like, it doesn't even matter anymore. Like,
He's like, fuck it. This is
what's the
dumb.
point? He's like, there's a broad galaxy out there. There's so much more than an assessment. And he's just trying to open his dad's eyes to that. And he almost he kind of does say, but also doesn't, that Jod isn't a Jedi, because did his dad mention that he was a Jedi or something?
Yeah, and he said
Okay.
he's not a Jedi. And then he kind of corrected himself.
And the dad
And
was
so
like,
I wrote
what?
this down. When he said that, I was like, well, how come he didn't like expound upon that? But I will give the show credit. Like they answer that a little later because he was being recorded by the droids,
Right. Yep.
right?
Yeah, because
So
Jod wanted eyes on all the kids at all time, because he made the point that, if you say anything, I'm going to take you down and your family as well. So, and then we go back to Fern, Jod, and Farah, which is Fern's mother, and they're going to see the supervisor. And they're walking around, and like the areas, it kind of seems abandoned, but not, because the computers are on, everything looks like it's working, but it's dusty all over the place. You don't see a soul or anything. And then come to find out, which explains a lot. And I'm like, okay, well, this makes sense we were even having conversations of why is there such an emphasis on droids? Droids are the security. They house like all the knowledge. Like, what's going on here? It's because the supervisor is a droid. And you can tell that the droid knows that Jod is not really what he says he is, but he's kind of like testing him to get it out of him or see if he slips up. You have something to say. You were going to say something.
I hated the fact that they we could all see it coming, I suppose, and I believe the reason I didn't like this is because I was kind of gearing up and expecting like that one captain to
Yeah, I
maybe
thought it
be
was going to
part
be
of
the
this.
captain. Yep.
But I just didn't, the AI thing. I mean, it's topical, I guess, right in the real life, but uh, I loved the way the droid exposed
Yeah,
Jod,
that was pretty
right?
cool.
And there's an interesting thing because so he's going about I'm a Jedi, blah blah blah, I'm an emissary. The droid who has kind of got this like cool little British accent. It's like, well, the Republic said that the Jedi were all traitors. So are you and so we hate the Jedi, and you're not. So are you the emissary or the Jedi? Or, you're a liar. Now, I noted this. He said the Republic
Yeah,
said
I was going to talk about this too.
that, yeah. So they still think that that the Republic was out there. That maybe there was no Empire, right? But that's interesting because obviously they're referring to Order 66,
I
and then that
interpreted
gets brought up later in the episode.
I interpreted it as like the Republic that was forming after the fall of, like, because we know the Emperor in the council chamber said,
Yeah, it calls it a Republic. Yeah,
but then it becomes the Republic is now a first galactic empire. So I think this planet was not aware of like the change to the galactic empire. They're still thinking it's part of the Republic, and it makes sense that it's like a new republic to them, but it's not the new republic that we think of in terms of like pre or sequel trilogy, Mandoverse, and all of that. So I took note of that too. That was something I caught on as well. Um, and awesome the tie-in with Order 66 there. I echo what you said. Like I mean, it's a computer. Computers are going to be pretty genius when it comes to figuring things out like that. The only thing that I thought was dumb, it's like, why would you link everything up to your central system?
yeah,
Even
and
like
I have zero protection.
yeah, and
For
like a
itself.
power outage, like he gets destroyed, it's a power outage. So is any power outage that takes place like just going to take down your whole planet system? And it's like, oh well, we're fucked now. Our our power's down. So I thought that was a little like, all right, you seem to be intelligent enough, but you didn't make some kind of separation between you and your droids. So Jared, good. I see your AI comment. Um, it's funny how like everything's about AI these days. So
Yeah, I mean it's every podcast you listen to. So here's what let's talk about AI a little bit. So on Facebook, right? There's these like content, what they're called. I think we've talked about this before. Um, gosh, I apologize. The
no, let
name
me
is
help you.
escaping
What
me.
are you trying to think of?
Well, they post things to get.
Like
Uh,
clickbait?
it's not clickbait though. It's not clickbait. There's something they call it now. Um, Content farming or something like that. Engagement
Sure.
farming. That's what they call
Okay.
it. Engagement farming, right? So you have these fucking random accounts, and they're polluting your feed on and not just Facebook, on everything. And they're just like random, like 70s movies fandom or whatever. And then they'll post things like they'll post like an actor from the 70s and then what they're doing now. They are clearly AI generated images. You
hmm
can tell by like the shyness,
hmm
and people
It's
are falling for it. Like, and it's not just people, right? Because I guarantee you, a lot of the accounts that are posting on these are also bots.
mhm.
But like you'll see this, it's like two images right next to each other, like the actor when they were young during like the Goonies, right? They'll pick the cast of the Goonies and they'll put them up on one side when they were young, and then like what they look like now. Clearly, one of those is AI generated. Maybe both images, but definitely the one like they're older. And then people are just posting like all this shit, like, "Oh my God, so handsome." It's like, who's falling? And I know who's falling for this. My aunt, posting all this shit. But it's ridiculous. And these engagement farmers are just using AI to like post, content that took 10 seconds to create.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Well,
so AI is destroying social media even more than it already was, in my opinion.
even those like questionnaire things that you see where it's like, tell me your top five like favorite things about this, or um anything that's just trying to obtain information from you. I think we've talked
This
about this before, and that's not necessarily bots. Well, not necessarily AI, but there's intention behind it from like scammers that are trying to get any kind of details they can out of people.
Yeah.
Because the questions that they use a lot of times relate to like what people will put as their passwords, and they're trying to farm that information. So, like, if
But
you're
it's not
on
even just
social
that
media,
too. It's
so,
it's like if you go on like Twitter, right? It's like these sports accounts that say, "Oh, tell me your favorite 90s, you know, home run hitter." I'll
yeah,
go first. I
yep,
fucking hate that when you see I'll go first. Give me a like you're just an engagement farmer.
yep, yep. So, note to everyone listening: do not answer anything that you see like posted on Facebook, Twitter, anything that is trying to obtain specific information out of you, because it is intentional.
Did
and
you hear
and be
about the
careful.
lady? Speaking of AI, speaking of AI, this lady in I think Australia or something that gave away like 900 grand to somebody she thought was Brad Pitt,
Oh, I
and
yeah, I saw something on that.
they
I
were
didn't read
using.
into it, but I saw it.
I don't mean to victim blame, okay? But come on, all right? Like they were sending AI generated images, which of Brad Pitt, right? So they're sending this gal AI generated images. I don't know why anyone would ever fall for the fact that like these celebrities are down on their luck, they need money, right? But like in the images, you can see like Brad Pitt's in the hospital. But if you look at the images, it doesn't even take like if I had my glasses off, I could see that like these images are different people. Like the AI doesn't
Yeah.
know exactly how to recreate it perfectly every time.
Yep.
So anyway, not
And
to
if the
go off on an
resolution
AI
of an
tangent.
image is better than what it seems in the naked eye, it's probably AI generated. And Jared says computers are amazing if you know how to use them. I'd say, but a human that knows how to use a computer will always be better than AI, is what I'm getting at in a way.
Yeah, and there's I was listening to an audiobook that has AI. If anyone's ever listened to the Bobaverse storyline, I think there's 5 books now. There's going to be more. But they kind of talk about like humans don't have the ability to create AI that doesn't like recreate itself. Like it needs some input from human beings right now. Like we don't have the understanding of how to have like self-generating AI. Because I mean, like even the AI we're using today, you have to input something to get something out. And they're not
Sure.
creating information themselves. They
Not
are
yet.
information that's out there, but not yet. But I mean, apparently,
We'll get there.
yeah, we'll get there, and then fucking Skynet. But
Skynet. Yep.
anyway, AI is a cool thing. I'm sure, I mean, there's nothing we can do. It's coming. So
Right. But I mean, Star Wars loves exploring AI. I mean, droids and everything of the sort are definitely an important part of role in the franchise, and obviously
I
very
mean,
important for this planet at Atten. So
yeah, I'll talk about like just going again. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but like
no.
AI can be pretty useful, like in a sales job. Like for me, like it can because like every company's earnings statements, if they're publicly traded, are out there, and so like I can ask ChatGPT to give me like some pain points on a customer's like security system that they have existing, and it'll literally it'll sort through the earnings call and then send me like talking points that I can send an email to a customer. It will write emails for me, but I don't use that feature yet because I think it's way too robotic.
Yep.
Or what I'll
Well,
do is I'll have it write the email for me and then I'll like reinterpret it with my own, colloquialisms and things like that.
yeah. And like there's a disclaimer for a specific, I'm not going to name the specific AI that's used, but one that we use, um, it comes with a tag of like 95% accurate. So that 5% inaccuracy can still be problematic. It's not, it's not perfect yet. It's on its way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when you make that point, I think of like dynamite, the invention of dynamite. It is extremely resourceful, can be used for a lot of good. Um, there is also the risk of it falling into the wrong hands and it being abused and being very dangerous. So it's, it all comes down to the individual. And, but with AI, who knows, maybe that it will get to the point where it can provide the information for itself and then it falls in its own hands. And then we'll see us turn into Skynet and everything. I kid, but
Hopefully I'll be dead by then.
Jared also says, for example, Alexa is taking the world by storm. My kids tell me Alexa knows everything I asked her when my birthday was. She failed. Boom slash humans win. Oh, AI writing can be great in my opinion because people, even myself, struggle with writing and it simplifies it. 100%. Yeah, that it can be a useful skill. The problem is though too when you use that sometimes too much, then you take away the opportunity to tone that skill for yourself. Like it's a good tool, but you don't want to lean on it too much where you're holding yourself back from
That's the same
developing.
goddamn argument my math teacher would say. Like, oh, you're not gonna have a calculator in your pocket all the time. Well, how's that looking, dumbass?
Well,
Now, I was bad at math before, and I'm even worse at math now. So, thank God for calculators.
math is one thing, language is another. Like
True.
we all use language, we don't all use math.
I
or
think from a sales perspective, I'm in sales. I
oh
just
yeah,
don't think AI generates an email that comes across as human.
yeah,
And I think if you send that verbatim, like straight from an AI source, I think someone would know. And I think that's a kind of a turnoff to the prospective customer.
yeah. Sometimes I wonder if like people think what I write is AI because my dad is very formal in everything he does.
Well,
His
because he
writing
was
and
with the CIA.
yeah, right, exactly. So
That's an
that
inside joke for new
I
listeners. You'll
know
have to listen back to figure that one out.
it's a story for another time. We still don't know, but so that rubbed off on me. Everything I write, whether it's work emails, papers, even notes to my wife, everything is like super formal. And I feel like people are less formal these days. Like in my work emails, it's very informal. So it's
You write like a Valentine's Day card
like
to your
dear
wife, to
so and
whom it
so.
may concern.
Yeah, exactly. That's me. So I probably come off as like a little AI, if you want to say so. But I don't know, just who I am. I love
Anyway,
it.
huge sidetrack. Back to the
Yes.
video breakdown, the episode breakdown. Huh?
Yeah. So the computer supervisor figures it out. So
Immediately gets killed.
immediately Jod ignites his lightsaber, pulls a Qui-Gon Jinn into the door from Phantom Menace, sticking his lightsaber right into the eye of it, or whatever you want to call it. Destroys it. Everything shuts down. I'm trying to recall. Did they have to turn off the barrier, or did the barrier shut down?
No, so if you remember,
Because they had to
they
had to turn it back on.
No, the barrier was still working the entire time. So he had to get the one Fern's mom to like punch in a code to get the ship through.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Right.
That's
and then
what it was.
The other option, the nuclear option that she didn't want to do, was just kill the barrier completely.
Right.
So,
and that allows for the pirates to make their entry, because they obviously want the treasure of the credits, the old Republic credits, because it's a mint. And Jod keeps mentioning, and I believe him when he says this. Like he says he doesn't want to kill anyone, he doesn't want to hurt anyone. I believe that. I believe that's his intention. But I feel like
we're skipping some parts though.
What did we miss?
Well, no. So, they go back to Wim, like as soon as he, kills
the
AI, and then they get the ships through. Wim's like in the dark, and that's when he tells his dad right away, which I was like, okay, great. Like that makes sense. What Wim did makes sense.
And can I say
the droids were down?
Oh, go ahead. You're probably going to say what I was just going to say.
As soon as George was down, he's like, "Hey, Dad, this guy's an asshole. Like, he's a liar."
Well, I was going to say it's so believable as a kid. Like how it shows his dad, he just goes up and just like kicks down this droid that's standing right there that's obviously shut down. I was like, that's pretty cool. I like that. So yeah, clearly they're figuring out that's all shut down. So then Wim radioed Neil beforehand when everything was still up and running.
Yeah, and the droid's like, "What the fuck?"
It's like, "What are you doing?" And then he pretends like he's playing dolls to hide the fact.
Spaceballs.
Yeah.
No, I'm not playing with my dolls.
No, I'm not playing with my dolls. So yeah, kind of summarize a little bit instead of going back and forth, because they're kind of shifting scenes. Wim is working to get Neil, KB together. They're going to take their speeders and they're going to try to get their ship so they can fly out of the barrier to send a message to the owl lady, because they recall that
her name is Kim.
Khymm. There's a apostrophe somewhere in there. Because Kim told
I wrote it down, but I spelled her name wrong, even though I have subtitles.
Hey, it's short writing. It's short writing. It's like when you're in a jury, you don't need to write out the actual word, just in a way that you'll remember it.
Never been on one, so don't know.
Either have I. Knock on wood. I prefer not going. But they recall that Kim told them if they're ever in help, or if they're ever in need of help, to contact her. And then they remember that she had the X-Wings, or had contact with the X-Wings. So their plan is to get the ship up, relay that message out. But the problem is they have to fly through all the pirates and everything. And you definitely get the stormtrooper accuracy moments.
I wrote that down. Said pirates have worse aim than stormtroopers. Because at least stormtroopers can, like, these are like big laser cannons. They're not like little blasters.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I did write down. I liked what's the droid gal's name? KJ? KB. God, sorry. I didn't write her name down apparently, but she, they're driving and they're getting shot at, right? And there's plot armor all around them. Yep. But then she's like, "Oh shit, we need to get into cover." I like that, because it's kind of like, well, yeah, you do. You can't just sit out in the open and get shot at like this. So,
yeah, but then they're only undercover for a little bit, and then wherever they pop out, the ship happens to still just be right there. So.
Yeah, well, I'm sure the little ship is a lot faster than their little speeder bikes, which are more kid bicycles.
And then they fly under the trees, and the pirates are like, you can tell that they can still see him, but they're like, oh, like,
Yeah.
I mean, you can't shoot through the trees with your big cannons. But again, we'll let it slide. Sorry, you were going to say something.
Well, so they get out of that mess and they get to the ship and they realize, it's impounded essentially.
Yep.
And Wim's dad's like, we got to turn the power on. We got to go up to the supervisor's tower.
Yeah.
And then he looks at the camera and he's like, but I'm a level systems coordinator. And I wrote down, that is the least badass thing I've ever heard.
I know. That's what I mean. Like the acting of the parents kind of like it was like overplaying the fact that they're parents.
It was so like over dramatic. I'm a level. It reminded me of like D&D player. I'm a level 9 paladin.
Yeah.
Like this Family Guy episode about.
Oh yeah. Or South Park, or is it South Park? I cannot trust the sword of 1,000 truths to a
Yeah, that was South Park. That was a World of Warcraft thing.
Yeah. What I will say was really cool, and I thought it was a good tie-in throughout all the other episodes. I like how every side role that the kids had in this like plan correlated with the role that Jod gave them in the ship. You know what I'm saying? So like Neil, well, not in the ship, I should just say throughout their interactions entirety, Neil remembered about that cannon gun because it was that other planet that was very similar had it. So he recalled that and he found the cannon to give cover to the ship because he got shot down and the other kids were still in their speeders and he's like, you guys go ahead. I've got a plan. I'll get you cover or whatnot.
And I did say Neil did the admirable thing. Like that was really, really cool of him to do.
Yeah. So I thought that was cool. And then KB was going back, or she was going to go to the ship to power it and fly it. And then Wim and his dad were going to shut the power off to the clamps that were holding the ship down. So, and then we get back into the supervisor's room where Wim makes an entrance. And he's kind of distracting Jod so his dad can come in and shut down the power to it. At the same time, before they walked in, Fern and her mom were trying to coordinate a plan. Fern was trying to explain to her mom, like, we need to shut down this barrier. Like, I understand that the galaxy can be scary and dangerous, but there are a lot of good people and a lot of good things out there too. And her, thinking of, okay, we need to bring down the barrier too to get aid from the X-Wings and everything. Now, they hadn't been in communication with Wim, so they're kind of thinking along the same lines at the same time. And I think they acknowledge that without saying anything when Wim and Fern kind of connect eyes when she sees that the dad is walking back and everything. Wim's dad is able to shut down the power to the ship, which KB is able to take off, and she does relay the message. But in the process of getting that message out, they get shot down, or she gets shot down right before being able to explain, like, we need help, but you won't be able to bring your ships into the system because of the barrier. So that doesn't get communicated.
I wrote this down. I did not buy that crash landing. And if you notice in the scene where she's like crashing down, she like goes down in a canyon, right? There's no explosion, but then she somehow ends up in the room where they took the ship off from, and it's like held up by cables.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's a piece of editing. I noticed like that didn't make sense.
Yeah.
From where her ship was going down, like in this little canyon, to where the ship actually ended up.
Right.
So
no, that makes sense. Which we should say, she repaired SM-33 so that he was the one actually navigating.
I don't know about repaired. She just had
head connected electrical. Yeah. The head wasn't connected back to, I don't know, his neck, but he was hooked up so that he could work
neck
again.
Bones connected to the circuit bone.
The SME bones connected to the computer frame. I don't know.
Okay, we're done.
So yeah, they crash land, but you don't see it actually crash. So you're like, okay, they're going to be okay. And, plot armor, it's going to be fine. No concerns there. But I will say the scenes back at, the tower were a little suspenseful. I was wondering if one of the parents wasn't going to make it. I was wondering if Jod wasn't going to make it. I had no idea. So there was an element of suspense in there, which I really enjoyed.
I wanted Wim's dad to die just for that level system coordinator. Which, by the way, going back to that, when he's like powering up the electrical, he looks like he has no idea what he's doing. He's just like flipping switches, and then he hits the one button that's like green.
Yeah.
Apparently, you have no fucking clue what you're doing, Mr. Level 7 coordinator.
Which, so then at this point, the kids and everyone determined they need to shut down the power of the barriers. They see the switch and they make an all-out effort for it. Wim gets to it, but at that time, Jod has a lightsaber to the neck of his dad and threatens, like, if you do anything, I'm going to essentially kill your dad. And the dad, like, I don't know if I'd call it bad parenting, but the dad's like, do what he says. Like, what would you do in that situation? Would you want him to shut the barrier down so that everyone else is saved, or did you tell him not to do anything? I kind of went back.
A big pussy.
I went back and forth on this.
Well, what I mean, do you want a life of servitude under pirates? Is that what you want for your kid?
No, but I can understand that the dad.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
the dad's. I mean, that's what he's basically promoting. If his son just backs away.
But I guess he could think that if he did pull it, Jod would end up killing his dad and then Wim. So there's that too. But I don't know. It wasn't a believable interaction as a parent with a kid, in my opinion. But that's not a big deal. But how did they end up?
So Jod has a good line. He looks at him and says, "You're no Jedi."
Yeah.
Kind of a callback,
Yep.
Not from a Jedi.
Not from a Jedi.
But that's when he goes into, this is where I was like, why can we not expound upon that? Jod's talking about his past.
Yeah.
Really where he came from, which completely believable. Like they pull off where it's like, okay, now I understand why Jod only knows like force pull and force push.
Well, and I think we talked about that last time, didn't we? Like, if he was any sort of Jedi by any chance, it would have been like a youngling during Order 66, and he ended up being a survivor, which is kind of what it was, right? Because
I mean, horrible what happened to him, right? They literally made him watch as they killed his master.
Yep.
It's very believable the way that they did it to allow me, the viewer, and us, I think, to believe why his motivations are what they are.
Mm-hmm.
Why he's like, the credit is all I care about.
Yeah.
In that very short scene of explanation, I buy that and understand it. What I wanted was more of that scene.
Absolutely.
And they just couldn't do it with the 34-minute episode.
And they gave indication too for his essentially craving for money, because he was, before the Jedi even found him, he was starving. Destitute. He was starving. And then along comes a Jedi. It was like, oh, I see potential in you. Brought him in, taught him a few things, and then Order 66 happened. The master gets killed. He somehow gets away, and then he turns into a life of piracy. So that's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool story. Let him
go.
Yeah, that was my understanding.
He says, like, they made me watch, as they killed my master. True. Well, obviously they had him in custody. They probably was like, this guy doesn't know shit.
Yeah, or maybe they didn't even know he was a Padawan or a youngling. They just thought he was some kid. So,
I don't know about that based on how he phrased the scene. I mean, what would have been cooler, or if they expounded upon it in the scene, like, oh, maybe they trained him as an Inquisitor and he didn't pan out because he just didn't have the power. Sure. Something like that would have been kind of cool. It was so short. It was just so, like, almost like there and gone. Like, blink in that scene, you miss it.
Yeah. So then some sort of distraction happens, and Wim and Fern end up together with the lightsaber, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
Wim goes for the lightsaber, and then Jod is trying to force pull it, which was pretty cool. I totally thought, okay, this was my initial thought when I saw this
He was
scene.
gonna light it and then force pull into him.
Yes, yes.
Yep. I thought that would have been really cool.
I thought that was exactly what was going to happen. Maybe it wouldn't like get him in the chest and like a fatal blow, but it would like get him in the shoulder or something. I totally thought that was what was going to happen.
Yep, that would have been cool. That's not what happened, unfortunately.
No.
And his lightsaber got knocked out because I think the dad like went and tackled him or punched him.
Yep.
Right.
So then Wim went for the lightsaber, and then force pull was happening. So then Fern came to help. And then that's when Fern called out to Mom, like, Mom, like, please do this. Trust me.
Yeah.
And then
she finally
goes
did it.
Yep. And pulls down the barrier. Then enters the New Republic with their X-Wings and B-Wings and a Corellian Corvette. Kind of a cool scene.
That B-Wing is from Last Jedi, wasn't it? Weren't those the things that were going to drop the bombs on the big...
No. These B-Wings were from Return of the Jedi. You first see them in Return of the Jedi, but they're also in they're also in Clone Wars, either Clone Wars or Rebels. I think it was Clone Wars where we see it first.
I don't know why they call them a B. They look like a lowercase t. So I'm saying.
Yeah, I know. There's a reason. I've read it a long time ago, but
I guess lowercase t wing didn't have the same ring to it, huh?
No, but I remember there's that episode where Tarkin is like working on the enhancements for the B-Wing, which is where they have that like cannon thing. It's like mini Death Star technology, and it's used to like, you know, attack bigger ships because that's a more powerful gun. They have other gun turrets as well, but I thought that was pretty cool that we got some B-Wings, obviously X-Wings. And yeah, so the New Republic comes to save the day, shoots down their ship. I don't know what happens to all these pirates because they're not
they're all dead. They're toast. I wrote this down. Holy shit, the Jedi travel fast. You know?
Yeah.
Like
the New Republic, you mean?
Well, yeah, you know, the Jedi, the X-Wings, you know.
Yeah.
I just wrote down Jedi, but yeah, they got there in record time.
Yeah. So then go ahead.
I just thought this was funny when the pirate ship, when they shot it down, it was going down. That reminded me a lot of Independence Day. When they take down the alien ship, and then
goes to like pyramids,
crash down, everyone in the mountains. Cheering.
Yep.
But also, by the way, New Republic, no regard for really anyone's safety, because that ship went literally down in like a residential area. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's a fair point.
It was about crashing. It was crashing. I'm like, that's gonna crash into something. You know?
Well, but it's not like they landed either to make sure everyone, like all the pirates, were taken care of. Because like
also shoot first, ask questions later. Apparently, you know.
Yeah, they're not moderator. They're just taking the words of the kids and Kim, I guess, seriously. So, yeah, guilty proven guilty and killed. I don't know.
Yeah. Pirate scum.
And then I mean, like Steve Urkel's character, obviously he was kind of like the captain at the time. So I feel like he was staying in that seat because it was captain going down with the ship. Is that what your interpretation was? Because everyone else is
where else were they going to go?
Yeah. Well, everyone else was fleeing. But you didn't see like the ship like explode or anything. So it's like they could still be alive.
Okay. No. There's no, like if you look, like when the ship actually hits the ground, there's like fire like engulfing every livable area of the ship. That would be like in The Last Jedi. And
yeah, true.
When, that would be like that, where they like somehow bring the Death Star and then like it has giant full pieces of the Death Star.
What about that one pirate that did not make the transport ship?
Probably.
Do you remember that, where they're all getting onto those little transport pods and the one guy doesn't get on one and he slept?
Yeah.
So is he the only pirate left besides John?
Yeah, maybe that'll be the second season. And
there you go.
They'll delve into him.
But and at the same time, there's the one pirate that we see in the Mandalorian show. So that one made it alive.
Maybe. apparently, speaking of the Mandalorian movie, uh, they revealed the supposed to be main villain, and I gotta be honest with you, kind of a letdown to me.
For Mandalorian.
Hmm.
Who would they say
Mandalorian
that?
Grogu, the one I forget his name, B something. He's like the bounty hunter, kind of like Cad Bane. He's been
Oh
in. He's
yeah,
been in.
with the like sombrero type style hat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, is
He's
that
been in
legit though?
something. Been in. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, he's pretty badass assassin, but
I know, but it's just
he's
okay.
not like a Sith level bad
Yeah,
guy. Yeah,
yeah. So like if that's to me what it says is if that's the bad guy, they're not going to expound on anything like Sith or Jedi really.
I think that's smoke and mirrors because how is Thrawn not going to be the main villain?
I don't
It
know.
might be the most on-screen villain we see, but I don't think he's going to be like the big baddie. We'll see.
Yeah.
Again, it could be a fake release or smoke and mirrors. But just to wrap up this episode, so the pirates are all destroyed or killed, except for Jod. We don't see what really happens. In his last scene, you see him watching everything, and then he looks up with like a little smirk. I don't know if that's like he has an idea or he's got an escape plan or he's actually happy with the way things unfolded. I don't know. Because if he's trapped on this planet, he'll probably be just fine. But, and then it kind of ends,
Well,
right?
no,
Isn't,
because we're forgetting they go back to JB because they think the ship crashed.
oh yeah, KB. Yep.
Sorry, not JB, KB. Good guy.
Yeah.
But I thought this was a cool scene. Like so the ship is down. It's like hanging on these wires, and then like all the credits like kind of
Yeah.
flow out, and then she kind of like flows out on top of them. I thought that was kind of well done. Um, I liked the thing that she said. Did we win? And then I fucking loved uh Smee's little comment. He said, "That's actually one of my better landings." I thought that was so great. That was a perfectly done line.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
So good to see that Smee is still alive. Good to see that the kids are all good and well and all the family. Um, but then after that, it kind of ends, right?
yeah, I just threw my notes because that was it.
Das ist
It
it.
kind
Das ist
of,
alles.
I mean, like again, like not a lot of payoff there.
I guess they show the New Republic ships flying away,
Well,
and
and
that's
then
when they
they
show
show the Carillion ship,
yeah. So I don't know
and
what
then
that
Wim
was.
looks up at that.
I don't know what the intention was. Like, was that supposed to signify that the Carillion Corvette was something meaningful, like
Yeah,
Leia's ship? But
yeah, because don't they have like more? Uh, don't they have like more
I mean, they have multiple
impactful
Carillion
like people on the
Corvettes.
ships?
Yeah, I mean, those
I
are.
just saw the one.
Yeah, I just no. I mean, in that scene, there's only the one, but like the Republic or military or Navy or whatever you want to call it, they have more than one of those ships. Because like, I mean, Tantive, I always forget if it's Tantive 4 or Tantive 5, which was um the ship that Leia was on. Like, is it supposed to be that one specifically or not? Probably not. I don't think Leia would take her time to fly out to this planet location to
I don't know,
resolve this
man. With all that fucking
conflict.
money, that could do really well for the New Republic.
Well, I can understand her sending the New Republic ships to go help them, but would she be on that ship? Maybe. Maybe not. Again, I don't know if that's her ship or not. If it's her ship, she's probably on it. I just don't know if it's her ship.
I saw an interesting theory somewhere that they could have tied this into the Force Awakens by like having that money fund the First Order.
Yeah, I thought that would have been cool. I was thinking something too.
Or I may maybe even
Funding the
said that.
cause.
Yeah, because they had to get gobs of money somewhere. You
Yeah.
know.
No different than in the Solo movie for the rebellion, where they get the money from the exchange of that fuel or they're very explosive that Han Solo has, and they give it to that group of rebels. Yeah, I thought they're. I was hoping for a little more tie-ins to the story and the universe that we know. Not a big deal that it's not. Like, I also kind of enjoy like a separation of that a little bit, just its own story set in the universe that makes sense and is fun. So I'm okay with that too. But at the same time, it would have been cool to see some more, like you said, lore tie-ins, some historical tie-ins for the franchise. But overall, I mean, I enjoyed it.
I did too.
It's not going to be groundbreaking. It's not going
I
to
give
set
it like
records.
I give it like
Seven
a
out of
six and a
10.
half or seven.
Yes,
Yep.
6.5 out of 7 out of 10. Like, I would go back and watch this again. I have no I'm not going to go back and watch The Acolyte. I have no intention. But this I would go back and watch again. Like,
Mhm.
I not often, but if I'm bored or sick and want to watch something, I'll throw
It's
it on.
definitely something like as my kids get older, I
I
will
will
watch
watch
with them. Yep.
100%. That might be like an introduction to Star Wars is we'll start with
Yeah.
this.
It was good. And I appreciate this kind of content that they put out, and I wish they could do more of it.
Yep, exactly. Just to go back to Jared has a few little messages here. He says, I wish I was more of a Star Wars guy. I love interactive podcasts. Keep up the great work, fellas. As a very non-Star Wars guy, I have an open question for you guys. Who is your favorite good guy and bad guy, and why? Again, I've seen a movie or two. Darth Maul was my favorite bad guy, and Jar Jar Binks is my good guy. I might
Oh
have to pick
boy.
up the Star Wars movie now that the Vikings are done. I feel you, buddy. Um, we're right there with you. They're Packers, so I do feel bad, Jared. I am sorry for your loss, but
I'm pissed for your loss because fuck the Rams. I hate the
Justin
Rams.
hates the Rams.
I'm from St. Louis. They got ripped out of St. Louis. Nobody knows the true story of it. All I need to tell you is that the NFL paid the city of St. Louis almost 900 million to make that go away. Okay. So they knew they fucked up. They knew they were going to lose in court. What they knew, so they settled. Anyway,
I hope everyone's buckled up because this is a story that
I'm not getting into it. I just told you everything you need to know as an outsider. The NFL paid, which NFL owners are absolutely loath to do, to pay anything to anybody. Just ask Jerry Jones. He won't even pay for Derrick Henry. So anyway, that's all I need to know. But I hate the Rams. I root for every team. I root for the Packers and every team that plays the Rams.
Dustin is a Packers fan, FYI for Jared, but he became a Packers fan because of his hatefulness now to the Rams. Used to be a Ram fan, then what happened, and he ruined with me. He started seeing the Packers then. His wife is a Packers fan and her family, so
they don't have an owner.
Really integrated into the fanship now, but now is probably more of a UFL Battlehawks fan. Would you say you're more of a Battlehawks fan or more of a Packers fan?
Oh, Battlehawks. I mean,
Yeah, I would agree with that.
When the Packers win or lose, I don't. I mean,
you don't lose sleep over it.
I don't lose sleep over it. When the Battlehawks lose, I don't lose sleep over it, but I'm a little bit more like, God damn it,
perturbed, a little more frustrated.
So if the UFL is actually pretty good football. I think it does a good job of. I think what it can do as it establishes itself is become a feeder league and really help the
especially the
quarterback
kickers
play.
And kicker. NFL pulled a lot of kickers.
Special teams. Jake Bates on Detroit. Santos, I think. No, Greg.
Not
Romero.
Santos.
Not Santos. Greg Romo or something. He played on the Vikings for a couple games.
Yep.
So anyway, it could be a good feeder league, but we're not here to talk about the UFL. My favorite, I think we know your favorite villain, Mudge.
Vader,
hands down.
Oh, without a question.
I think for me, Jared, if you haven't, I highly recommend. I'm partial to audiobooks, but there's a series of books called The New Republic, or sorry, The High Republic. I think there's 4 of them now in like the main storyline, and then
1, 2, 3, 4. There might be 6.
5.
There's at least 5. There's at least 5.
There's 5 because they went back. So they had the original trilogy, then they had a book that goes back in time. You can skip that one. And then there's a fifth book technically, but it's really to me a fourth book. And Makian Ro is one of my favorite villains. They do
Yeah,
such a
he's
good job.
very
He's
captivating.
absolutely brutal. He's absolutely brutal. It gets more brutal as the series goes on. And I would say my favorite, I love Quinlan Voss.
Dustin is all about the villains and the bad guys. So it makes sense that your favorite good guy is a guy that like kind of
Teeters.
teeters on that
Yep.
line. I mean, you
Yeah,
could
or
Revan,
Ezra Mann.
Ezra Man, Revan. You love
Oh, yeah.
Revan.
Well, Revan's the answer to both the
Yeah,
question,
because
really.
he's a villain or a good
Yeah.
guy turned villain turned good guy because
Yeah.
of
Good
dementia,
guy turned bad guy turned good guy again.
because memory loss. Isn't that what happened?
Yeah, yeah. He
More or
had
less on why he became
short-term
a good
memory
guy
loss.
again. Yeah.
Yep.
Um, but you also like really is it Nagasato or
Nagasato.
yeah.
Great Sith villain. Yep. I mean, he's my screen name for almost all my like WoW characters or even Xbox. Yep.
Um, so yeah, for me, mine are more like basic bitch
Vader
choices.
and Luke.
Yeah. Vader is if I
Yeah.
went to I mean, that's what drew me into the franchise. I mean, Luke was my escape of the real world, so it's hard not to say him. He's not the most captivating good guy, but he's my favorite good guy. And Vader just number one villain of all time in, filmography.
I agree. I
Hard
mean,
to hard to not like that guy. As as more content came out, I've really grown a big appreciation for Obi-Wan Kenobi and everything he went through and has done. Like, so I would say Kenobi is up there and Ahsoka. I mean, Ahsoka's top three for me. Just how you can feel so annoyed from a particular character when you're first introduced to her and then totally um flip your opinion on her by the end of her story. It becomes one of the most badass Jedi not Jedi in the franchise. Like
and by the way, like strong female character that's not force fed down your
exactly.
throat, but like you're saying, somebody who was intentionally maybe not a fan favorite that turned into a favorite because of good writing and character progression.
Tell me you're not forcing it by tell me you're not forcing it with making the character so annoying. Like you're clearly not forcing it upon this character when you make her so like unenjoyable up front and then you just turn her into the biggest badass
Yeah,
and
and
such a great character.
but that happened throughout the course of a long period of time
7 seasons. 7 seasons.
where like for instance like a Ray it just becomes a badass like instantly. It just doesn't feel earned,
Right.
you know. So
We put in the work with Ahsoka. We stand by Ahsoka.
yeah,
So long
that's a
story
great
short,
that's a
what?
great question.
Yeah,
I love it. But again, Jared, if I could highly recommend the High Republic book,
they're good.
they're really good on audiobook. Star Wars and like sci-fi to me is really good on audiobooks because they pronounce the names
Yeah,
or
it
of
helps.
things because you know what they are. And then particularly with the High Republic audiobooks, they have like sound effects that make you feel like more part of the story. So,
And I will say, don't be afraid to branch into the young, not a, yeah, the young adult, not the kid books. Kid
but if your
books are
time is limited, all I'm saying is like focus on the main story.
the young adult ones, they'll get pretty dark and pretty intense too. But yes, the adult novels, the novels, super good content.
Yeah.
Except for
So
the
the first
prequel
one's
one.
called High Republic.
I've got them right here.
Because I mean, I know it can get confusing with
Light of the
like,
Jedi,
yep,
Fallen Star.
that's the last one.
No, yeah, you're right. Light of the Jedi, Rising Storm, and then Fallen Star. That's the first three that came out.
Yep. Which is part of its own little trilogy.
And then you have Convergence and Catalysm, which are jumping forward, going earlier in time. And then you've got The Eye of Darkness. Is that the
Yep.
most recent one?
Yep. Yep. And that's the one that gets more into like Maki and Ro and like the Jedi chasing
Yeah,
after him.
that's the one I haven't read yet. I've read all the others. I haven't read that one
Very,
yet.
very good.
I really want to get into it. See, now that football's over and we're in January, February time, this is my reading time. This is when I sit down after Jackson goes to bed and Clean goes to bed. I pull out my book and I start reading. So,
Well, see, this is the thing about audiobooks is great. Like, when I have downtime, like, between like sales calls and stuff, or now that I'm traveling a lot
true.
more, I can just pop on an audiobook and listen to that.
Do you ever have to rewind though? Since it's audiobook, you kind of can drift away a little bit.
No, I almost, I shouldn't tell this because, I'll get the cops will pull me over, but I almost like get so entranced in the book. I get to a spot, I'm like, holy shit, I'm here.
What did I
How did
just
I
do
get here?
driving? Did I just black out?
Yeah.
But yeah, I echo Jared. It it's very easy to become a Star Wars fan, I feel like, because there are such or there's a lot of good content out there. There's some bad content out there. But the Star Wars fanship, we're always open to have more people. We're always happy to have people come on like you and talk with us and bring questions. Like that's what we encourage. So Jared,
That was a really good question. I mean, again, I think what makes up a good saga, like the Star Wars saga, is great villains, right? So, like, again, best villain of all time in cinematography is Darth Vader. So, I mean, absolutely knocked out of the park with that. Now, he's not my favorite because I'm not a cliche little bitch
yeah,
like you are.
I'll own it.
But I mean, God, James Earl Jones. Can you imagine what that character would be without him? Like he almost
Well, and then
made.
even with the addition of the prequels and Anakin Skywalker and then the Clone Wars and just the more content you get on his backstory on how he became Vader and just like the depth to it all. Like Darth Vader in itself was already the best villain in filmography. And then he only got better with the additional content that we've received and continue to get. It's like this guy is phenomenal. It's awesome. But yeah, I told you, Jared. Easy answer is Vader and Luke. Those are my answers.
Hey,
Dustin's is
I'm surprised you're not drinking your whiskey out of a Stanley cup, you bitch.
oh no, I could have gotten a free one from work, but I wasn't there that day. But my wife would have ended up with it anyways. It would have been like a
Yeah.
Christmas gift or something. So that's what happens with working with Target. So when we get those like gifts and everything, they're always like more oriented towards the females, like handbags, Stanley cups. So it's like, well, at least I've got some Christmas gifts ready for Colleen. So that's how it usually ends up being. But no, great question. Yeah, if you're ever listening to us again, keep bringing those in. But yeah, I think where we left off, and we'll kind of wrap it up. Just very impressed with the show. Again, meaning Skeleton Crew. Again, not groundbreaking, not like going to set or win awards or anything, and that's totally fine. Like we knew what we were getting with this, and they hit the mark. Like we just wanted something fun, enjoyable, nothing that's like causing too much lore breaking or controversy. Like that's what this was. I'm gonna miss having that. It was, I mean, next is Andor, which comes out in April, so we've got a little time, and then another good show is coming, so I can't wait for that. But
I feel like the show was like the bagel bites of the culinary world,
yeah.
Like it was quick,
burned your mouth a little bit.
Yeah, burned your mouth a little bit. Not necessarily super nutritious, but you threw it in the oven. It hit the spot as a kid, or like Chef Boyardee, the ravioli, kind of like that too. Like it got the job done, right?
Yep. And only one kind of miss episode, one kind of filler episode. Everything else was great.
Yeah. So
we'll see if they'll come out with a season 2. At the moment, I'd be totally okay with it. I think they have some directions to go because again, we don't know what happened with Jod. We don't know who that captain is.
I don't think they're gonna do a season 2. I don't.
No, I don't think so either.
I think they wrapped it up enough.
I agree. But I'm just saying that where it left, you could have a season 2 but I don't think they would do a season 2, nor should they need to do a season 2. Do something else. Find something that's totally unrelated to everything else and do another little story. I'd be okay with that. But yeah, besides that, I know you meant, I'm just going to speak to two things, or one thing really. I don't think we mentioned last time that Balin Skull, his character has now been announced, like who will portray him. So it'll be the Game of Thrones, the Hound actor, Rory McGann.
He's gonna look at Ahsoka and be like, "You fucking little cunt."
How do you feel about this casting?
Love it.
I do too. It's gonna.
I mean, aside from Ree Shriver, who I thought would have been like almost like manifested. Lee Shriver, you know who that is?
Yeah. Yep. I think that would have been a better fit in terms of like appearance and everything. But I think in terms of like caliber of actor and everything, like this is great.
Yeah.
I think he's going to do a fantastic job. I'm super excited. I think there's going to be a little bit of a noticeable difference in the two characters, but maybe they can figure, I mean, makeup can do great things. CGI can do great things.
Or I don't care about the appearance necessarily, right? Like, I mean, we know what happened. Absolutely tragic circumstances. Yeah. I can get beyond that. You know, I think though he can deliver, and it really comes down to the writing and the performance.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, you know, the person who portrayed Balin Skull in the first, I mean, his performance was literally carried that show.
Best
way better than honestly Rosario Dawson.
Most captivating story in that show too.
And again, I mean, I just completely believe his motivation, and his motivation is where I wanted Luke's motivation to be.
Yeah.
In The Last Jedi, it's like this is broken.
Yep. Which kind of aligns with some of the expanded universe stuff too. So, super excited. And I think the best part about this announcement is
means there's a season 2.
And that he plays a part in it, because the question was, because of what happened to the actor,
are they just going to kill him off?
Will they continue a story? Will they just let it fade away? This tells you they have a story that they're going to continue on with him. And I think it's going to be an integral part in the, Mandalorian and Grogu movie, and the direction they're going in with all those stories. So I'm excited to see this season 2. I can't remember when it comes out, maybe 2026.
Probably.
But just do it right, please. And
next is Andor.
Yep. Next is Andor. And we'll have Visions, the season 3. And then I think that's it for this 2025. Looking at 2026, there'll be a little bit more, even movies coming out. So a lot to look forward to. But there's also more content that we'll bring. We'll read books. We'll play video games. We'll do all that stuff, and we'll bring it all to you listeners and everything. So still plenty to talk about going forward. With that, I'll wrap it up unless there's any final thoughts from you, Dustin.
Again, it's nice to have content that we enjoyed.
Yes.
Like, it was, it's a thing.
Nice change of pace.
Not all fans are negative Nancy's that like just thrive on whining about bad content. Like, when it's enjoyable, I think most of us are appreciative of that, and we want more of that.
Yep.
So,
and in our podcast, we're gonna be open and honest. We're not gonna be like, liking Star Wars because of it's Star Wars. We'll tell you when we like something, and we'll tell you when we don't like something. Like, we're okay with honesty and giving our true opinions. Doesn't mean we don't like Star Wars or that we hate Star Wars or whatnot. It's just we're giving you our honest opinions, and that's all we can ask for. It's communication. So, all right. Again, if you're listening to us, please hit that subscribe button. It definitely helps us out. Follow us, like us, all of our social media handles and everything. Rate, review. We greatly appreciate it. And again, thank you, Jared, for joining in on the conversation. We love that aspect of this. We want more of it. The more people we get talking with us, the more engaged, the more we have to talk about. And it just makes it that much more enjoyable and fun. So thank you, Jared. We greatly appreciate you. And we look forward to connecting next week, bringing more Star Wars to all you listeners out there, and yeah, see what direction it goes. So have a great rest of your day. Have a great rest of your week. And as always, may the
May the
force
force
be
be
with
with
you.
you.
Oh, Dustin was sneaking in a little sneaky. All right. Well, we'll see you guys next time.